How we doing? Fox back again for sound design tutorials. Another request today. This one is by one of my subscribers, and it is Modestas Bartkus. I hope I said that right. It's something a bit different today. It's a Anjunabeat track. It's Yotto. The track is Wandering, featuring Caps. This is the track. There's going to be a link in the description so you can hear this track and compare the sound. The sound, it's quite a constant sound running through the track. It's like a brassy sort of filtered sound. Yeah, this is it. This is it with a little beat that I've made, and it's with Massive. There you have it. Lovely, rich, sort of brassy. I call these sort of push sounds. They're not. They're like a stab, but they're prolonged with reverb and some unique filtering. So yeah, we're going to be making this sound today in Massive. I'll just say quickly, this patch is free to download in the description. Also, there is a link to the track where you can compare this to the sound to the original. Please subscribe up here if you like this or any of my other tutorials. And yeah, any requests, send them through to my Facebook page as a direct direct message. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and initialize this. It's all pretty much basic waveforms as usual with these sort of sounds. Yeah, fair bit of modulation with the filter. The effects, all I used was a reverb and an EQ and a bit of parabolic shaper. So yeah, first thing we are going to do, we're going to go into the voicing section. We're going to crank the voices up. We're going to give it 12 voices unison. And we're going to do the pitch cut off just so you can see one of those little sliders sticking out the bottom. What this does is this starts to spread these new voices apart from one another. It's about 1/10 of a semitone, which is quite a lot. We need to turn it on. Watch for clipping. We're going to pan these new voices, full stereo spread. Pull it down just a tad. We're going to change it to monophonic as one note was only being played at a time. You can leave it polyphonic if you want. We'll turn the glide time off in the oscillator section. We don't want any pitch bending up or down. That's the voicing section done. We'll set the main amp envelope up now before we go ahead and change any of the oscillators. This plays a big part to the sound. There was a definite sort of ducking at the start of the sound. Just that. It wasn't a percussive sound at all. There was a definite lead into the sound. So around about 10 o'clock on a clock dial. We want no sustain. We're going to control the length of the notes with the decay. This one's going to be about 3 o'clock on a clock dial. Once we set the effects up later on, that's going to help those notes tail off and make them sound perceivably longer. So yeah, that's it. We're just going to go ahead and set all the oscillators up now. The first one we keep on a square saw wave as it comes as standard. Amp on full, route it only to filter 1. I'm going to pitch this one down 1 octave, so -12. And we're going to push it down even more. Up slightly, sorry, to -11.92, just to offset it from the other oscillators. That's the sort of subby-ish bassy part to the sound. The next oscillator, click it, turn it on. This one is a square saw 2. Keep it on the saw wave. This one, we want it on -0.2, so it's an octave higher, but still sort of spread slightly apart from each other. Route this only to filter 1. Pull the volume down to about 3 o'clock. We didn't want the high part of the sound to be overpowering, that's why I just pulled the volume down a little bit. Oscillator 3. We're going to use all 3 oscillators for this sound. This one is a sine square or a sine triangle, doesn't matter. Pull it all the way to the left so it's a sine wave. Amp on full. Route it only to filter 1. Pitch this one down 2 octaves, so -24. And then we're just going to push it back up a fraction to 0.96. This is creating the real subby part of the sound now. If I solo that sub on its own, you're going to need headphones or some clear monitors to hear that. Real low part of the sound, which the sound definitely did have. Series or parallel doesn't matter for the filters. The modulation oscillator I did use, I used it filter FM, so for that reason we're going to go ahead and set the filter up first, and then we'll jump back to the modulation oscillator and the feedback as well, because we'll use that routed into filter 1 as well. So filter 1 was a low pass 4. You could hear in the sound it started quite bright, and as the notes progressed it was sort of sweeping towards the low end. So that's exactly what we're going to create. We don't want any resonance. Volume for the filter on full, and want the mix coming out of filter 1. We are only using 1 filter for this sound, so starting point, it wasn't quite full, it was in between 3 and 4 o'clock. So pretty much letting everything all the way through. I then used envelope 2 to slowly close this envelope off over time. So drag the little crosshair from 2env, drop it in the first modulation box for the cutoff of filter 1, and drag it negative, so it's pretty much in between the C and the U, around about 11 o'clock on a clock dial. We want sustain on full, because we're going to be controlling this with the attack time. So when the sustain's on full, the attack time is how long it takes to get from your starting point to your finishing point, so from open to almost shut. Yeah. It wasn't exceedingly long, but it wasn't short either. That's pretty good. Underneath the C, in between the A and the C, I didn't have any delay or anything like that. Didn't change any of the other features. That's pretty good. Now we're getting there. So we're going to go back to the modulation oscillator now. Filter FM of oscillator 1. Click it, turn it on. Pitch it up 1 octave. We're going to have it off closed, and we're going to use that same envelope that we had for the filter to open it up over time, round to just below the O, in between the M and the F, M and the O. I've done it the wrong way around. We want it open and we want it to close over time. So you want the starting point sort of aiming towards the bottom of the F, and then you want the envelope to close this over time. So the FM is affecting the higher parts of the sound, and then it closes as we shut it. Adds a tiny bit of a metallic edge to the sound, which definitely helps when we bring in the reverb later on. Noise source, you can turn it off. We did have feedback, pushed it slightly before post amp, and just pulled the volume down slightly, so as if it's trying to push it towards filter 2. Give it too much, it enhanced the lows too much, so it was just that tiny little bit. Okay, we're getting there. Just the effects now, and a bit of this light distortion, and then we're done. So it's quite straightforward, this one. Once you've set the unison voices up, you can always try and give it a bit more unison if you want, a bit more pitch spread, sorry. Helps give it that brassy sort of sound. I found it a lot better when it was a bit lower down. So we'll just check the routing section now. If I remember correctly, I did insert 2 to come after the mixing of the filters, before the effects, and insert 1 I didn't use. I tried to use insert 1 and 2, I just ended up using insert 2, so make sure it goes like that. Click that B at the top there so they all run through each other. And that, we want to go into FX1 first, into FX2, through the EQ and out. So yeah, click that B, insert 2 there, feedback there, that little triangle there. That's all you need to know. So yeah, once that routing is done, we are then going to go to insert 2, click it, turn it on. We're going to use a sine shaper for this. This is a form of distortion when you apply it after the filter and with a bit of feedback. You can hear the effect it's having. Let's make sure I've got that right. That is sounding quite pronounced. We'll leave it for now. It sounds a bit squelchy for me, but it's probably going to react with the parabolic shaper that we use in a bit. Parabolic shaper, reverb. So yeah, the reverb I used was the standard reverb. Click it, turn it on, pull the dry wet down. The size is the most important bit. I fiddled with this for quite a while and it was pretty much there between, as if it's aiming between the Z and the E. Density at about 11 o'clock. Brighten up the colour. This made the sound whole. Let's turn the dry wet down of that. Oh, it's a parabolic shaper I use, not a sine shaper, sorry. That's why it's sounding a bit different to how I had it before. So, just the EQ section now. What did I do? I pushed the boost around a tiny bit. Frequency for the high shelf down to about 10 o'clock. There you have it, nice and straightforward. 3 pretty easy 3 basic oscillators. A little bit of routing to make sure we had the insert and the feedback in the right place, but just do some side chain quickly to the bass drum. There you have it, lovely sort of brassy push sound. It's very easy once you've made this patch to change it up a bit. If you want it to be a lot brighter, obviously you can play the notes higher up. Or one thing I did was just bring this one up an octave even higher. Same with this, keep pushing them up an octave. Lovely, nice and straightforward. I created this little side chain sub which the track had. I did this with Massive also. There's nothing to this, it's just a sine wave. Am I looking at the wrong one? It's this one, yeah. It's just 2 square waves, 2 sine waves, all down really low with a filter on it, creating a a real sort of beefy sub. And I've got a performer just cycling over 4 steps, just doing a side chain effect rather than side chaining it inside thingy. So yeah, those two together. There you go. So that was Yotto. That was Yotto Wandering featuring Caps. Yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Any questions, please leave them in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe. Plenty more tutorials to come this week. As always, thanks for watching. Cheers.